The UK's wildlife is facing an uncertain future, with fragmented natural habitats and declining populations of wildlife in many places across the UK. To tackle this, the wildlife trusts are taking a new approach to nature conservation, working with a range of different partners across larger areas of land. We call this living landscapes, and the wildlife trusts now have over 100 living landscape schemes across the UK, shown here in green. This film looks at a single living landscape scheme, Devon Wildlife Trust's Working Wetlands project, restoring culm grassland habitats across North Devon. The project areas are shown by the 3 blue patches on this map. We meet the people who all play a part in the project: a farmer, a local landowner, staff from each of Natural England, South West Water and Devon Wildlife Trust. It's a great example of how working together can achieve shared objectives and make a real difference for wildlife across large areas of the countryside.
Working Wetlands is a 7-year initiative working in the culm natural area of Devon. Basically, we're working over 3 priority areas, which extends to about 65,000 hectares of land, working alongside farmers and a whole range of partners, trying to basically rebuild a living landscape, making sure that the habitats and species that are present and supported in the culm are more robust into the future.
We've got a farm of 46 acres situated in an area, a very wet area of North Devon, which is where there is quite a bit of culm grassland. Culm grassland is identified basically by its situation. Usually it tends to be in the lower areas of a valley or in a very wet, marshy areas.
It's grassland which has probably got a few rushes in it and has a nice distribution of herb grasses and what have you. And it's was very predominant in West Devon and quite a bit up here in North Devon as well.
Culm grassland is a really rich environment, and it's that whole diversity, that wealth of wildlife which supports it, which makes it so fascinating, so important. Some of the really key species though is we have a national stronghold of the marsh fritillary butterfly. There's about 37 populations which are known, and they're doing really quite well in the culm area. Other insects are also supported, so things like woodwhite, narrow-bordered beehawk moth, they all have good populations here in the culm. We've got breeding waders such as the curlew, and some of the last few remaining populations of breeding curlew are found in the culm.
As well as being an important wildlife habitat, culm grassland helps to provide cleaner water and protection against heavy rainfall and flooding.
We need to find a way of creating a buffer between river behaviour and the way that farms have to be run. And the culm grassland is especially good at acting as a filter and a buffer for runoff and pollution, slowing things down, giving water an opportunity to clean before it gets into streams and rivers. It's a very direct relationship. If the habitat can't protect the water quality, then all the biodiversity that goes with that will be in trouble.
The areas of culm grassland that we see today are the last remaining fragments of this habitat in the UK.
In terms of extent of lowland grassland semi-natural habitat, we've got about 1.4% of land area in the culm is currently a culm grassland, so a really wildlife-rich environment.
Large areas of culm grassland have been lost since the Second World War, but the rate of loss accelerated in the 1980s, as Peter Burgess explains.
Large swathes of this habitat were drained, reseeded, fertilised, and were put to crops such as flax and linseed. And that pace of decline was recognised by a range of organisations that were working in the culm. Devon County Council, for example, Devon Wildlife Trust and English Nature. And we really then had to champion the conservation of this habitat into the future, because we were realising that there was something of international importance that was here and that we had to do something about it.
Working Wetlands isn't just about protecting existing fragments of culm grassland. Devon Wildlife Trust are restoring and reconnecting areas of habitat where this is possible, creating a more sustainable network of wildlife habitats and corridors.
In the heart of the No Stone and Witheridge priority area here at Afton, we've collated a whole range of different data sets. We've got field scale data sets through our parish biodiversity audits. We're also county wildlife site data and species data, but also information about the farming and farming systems which actually support the wildlife in this landscape. That's enabled us to really strategically target where our landscape scale conservation effort is focused. What we're doing here is looking at how we start to actually reconnect these wildlife rich hotspots in the landscape.
Linking and restoring culm grassland can help wildlife populations under threat from habitat fragmentation. Together with butterfly conservation and the Forestry Commission, Devon Wildlife Trust has been involved with a project to reconnect culm grassland sites at Bursden Moor near Les Deadman's farm.
We have a butterfly there which is quite rare in Devon, the marsh fritillary butterfly. There was an area of land which it was found in, and this was completely hemmed in on 3 sides by the Forestry Commission and on the other side by the A road, and it was felt that if the butterflies could get out of there, it would benefit everyone, and they could visit then other areas of culm grassland such as our farm.
So culm grassland is a vital resource for wildlife and people, but saving the remaining areas and restoring and reconnecting them is a big task.
Working Wetlands is working over such a large area of land, and we're basically trying to influence over 65,000 hectares of farmland in Devon. So there's a huge number of organisations which are able to support us in helping to achieve our living landscape aims and objectives. So we work very closely with Natural England in terms of being able to draw down funding through entry level and higher level stewardship, and that capital funding and annual management support is absolutely critical in terms of restoring favourable management to these sorts of areas. But we will also work really closely with agencies such as the Environment Agency, work closely with the Forestry Commission.
This means approaching farmers and landowners like Sir Hugh Stukely, who own areas of culm grassland, to get them involved with Working Wetlands.
They came to me about 3 or 4 years ago and said that they were interested in various areas of land at Afton and were keen on the clear felling and returning to what we call yellow grass moors of 2 fairly significant areas, and they were really knocking at an open door. I was very keen to do that anyway, and it had been something in the back of my mind which I've been wanting to do for a number of years. So we were able to get together and put a plan together.
Devon Wildlife Trust works closely with Natural England, the statutory nature conservation agency in England, who help to fund culm grassland restoration work with farmers, often through agri-environmental schemes.
We advisors on the ground, work very closely with Devon Wildlife Trust Working Wetlands. In particular, I work in my area with 2 people, Becky Aston and Stuart Coleman, and we've got an extremely good working relationship with them. They come to us, we go to them. If we have an inquiry from a farmer about a high-level stewardship application, if it's in their sort of target areas, then the first thing we do is get in touch with Working Wetlands and say, can you help?
The help we've received from Devon Wildlife Trust in managing this area has been very useful. They ran courses which put us in touch with other landowners, and we were able to get together and visit farms and see how their situations varied from ours and what we could do to improve things.
As well as working with farmers, landowners and Natural England, Working Wetlands has a range of other partners, including South West Water.
Over the last 3 years, we've been supporting Devon Wildlife Trust with some funds, a few thousand a year, to allow us to help the project continue and to give us the opportunity to understand more about it. And out of that, we've got some very clear indicators that it's doing great things for water quality and water quantity, and that's what's important for us as a business. Devon Wildlife Trust role is primarily one of the specialist intermediary between us, who know very little about farming and land management, and the farmers and the land managers who are wrestling with grant applications and trying to make their businesses viable in these difficult times. And so Devon Wildlife Trust are helping them maximise the grants, helping them into higher level stewardship, dealing with organic conversion, pesticide minimisation, and managing land in a way that's more sustainable.
I think we've reached a situation now where, with the help of people like the Devon Wildlife Trust, landowners are now well aware, or much more aware, whether they have or have not got culm grassland on their land. They're able now to access advice from the relevant people and access to schemes whereby funds are available to maintain and improve these areas and stop the decline in them. I think there's less chance now that areas will be lost and more chance that they will be appreciated for what they are.
We do have quite a lot of this very rough land, but although it is rough, it's a treasure trove of wild species and things that are fast disappearing. So this is where we come in, really.